Hello, my name is Brandon Matthews. I just finished up the Teachers as Change Agents module, and so I would like to I'm going to give my video presentation on that now. I'm just going to kind of base it off of my notes and what I learned and what stood out. I really liked the way that Ben Clark started it with the introduction. I really liked the way that he addressed that teachers we come into this wanting to make change. And I think that that's a big mindset that we need to have these days is that we do want to make change or create change. And I really liked how this module addressed that it's not just the students that need changes, but sometimes it's us as staff and us as teachers that need to change as well. Sometimes we need to change that mindset that we have, possibly towards a group of people, a different language, anybody that we feel is different than us or view as different. So one of the things that I really liked, or that really stood out to me, is that by using or by becoming these teacher agents, we learn how to see the classroom from the student's perspective, and I think that's really big. I work in special education, so I do feel that if we don't look from the student's point of view, that sometimes we get carried away on what we want. And really, what's the main goal? So the main goal is not for us, the main goal is for them. And so I think for us, the big point, I think that the big takeaway I got from that was to this achievement gap. We need to shorten that achievement gap or close it up. Since I've been in SPED, I have worked with my mainstream teachers as well as my teacher in our IEPs to help us get closer to that gap. You know, what standards can we achieve? What ones can we phase out, or can we adapt to my students or their absolute needs? Um, I really liked that this module talked about the cultural responsive pedagogy. I'm sorry if I mispronounced that. But really, I think that this SEL program, as well as our last class, has really dealt with how do we as teachers teach our students to accept everybody around us. And I really like that one of our challenges for this culturally responsive change is to place students' cultural and social identities at the center of learning. And that came from Grinner and Stewart. And what I really think that that means is that we need to meet our students halfway sometimes. We need to allow them possibly to turn in assignments in their language, to give us some type of, to allow them to still be themselves, to keep their identity, but also address some of those standards that we want as teachers or that we're adapting for them for their learning. But we need to help them with their language and their history. If we take those away from them, one of the biggest things that I've picked up on is it takes away their identity. When we take away that language, when we take away their heritage, they become a student who says, "Who am I? Do I fit in? Do I not fit in?" And that sticks with me pretty big. I'm in a small mountain community school. I have quite a large Native American population that is in our school system, and there is a struggle. There is honestly at times there is a fight between some of our teaching staff and some of these students and the parents. And it's sad. It is absolutely sad, and the students are the ones that end up being affected. And so I really love this whole teaching. Um, I was really surprised that even though our culture is becoming more diverse in our student population, our teaching population is still only it's a majority white or Caucasian led. That was really interesting to me. I'd like to know more about that. I wonder if in some of the other cultures and in others the other areas, if because of our demeanor and our focus on other students or the privileged students, if that has detoured some of these young, bright minds from wanting to become teachers in the inner cities or in their communities and become leaders. I truthfully, again, I'm going to say this probably a lot, but I'm in a small mountain community. I went to school here. I've lived here. I want to be a leader for my community. I see no separation. I want to say that. I see us all as course Goldians, if you will. I love where I live. I love this area. Um, I also liked through this module that they talked about how the gap since the 1960s has increased actually on that achievement in our lower demographic areas as opposed to some of our richer areas or white neighborhoods as opposed to some of the poorer immigrant neighborhoods or yeah, yeah, that's a hard one. I don't want to say color or racially term because I grew up in an area where we're poor, we're mountain kids. it is a low demographic where I am from, and so in all honesty, I've kind of felt a little bit of a not a prejudice, but I felt it going into college when I first started. I'd turn in papers and they'd laugh and they'd say, "Oh, you went to Corscold Elementary or you went to Yosemite High School," and they could base that just on what I was taught. So I do understand that, and I think that we need to bridge that gap. We need to improve. Um, I really underlined and circled this quote because nobody has to fail. Failure is a term that we create to make ourselves feel better, I think. However, if we're working with students, a student should not fail. If a student fails, I fail. And I'm going to tell you this, I don't fail. I don't want to fail. I tell my students that we are not going to fail. We are going to get to this standard and we're going to achieve that. If we can't get to here, we're going to look at that. We're going to see what we need to adjust, what needs to be worked on, and we're going to meet in the middle. We're going to readjust our standards, and I'm going to make success however we can with my students. And I shouldn't say I'm going to make success. I'm going to guide them to making the choices for success. Um, I like again that they went over that the role of a teacher is not just in changing our students, but it's in changing ourselves or our other educators. I think that we don't understand the true impact that our bias or our prejudice have on our students and how that can actually carry over into further generations. I feel that I am definitely not a technician style of teacher. Um, I really love the quote that my job is to not just teach the content. I think that is absolutely amazing. I deal in behavioral intervention, and education is there, but success in life is my biggest goal for my students. Life lessons, those little keys to get us through, to be successful in life, and not to be successful in how I want them to be, but to be successful how they want to be. And I really loved that quote, as well as I really love, I'm not going to just teach what the textbook tells me. I love that the math teacher said that. That was just amazing because sometimes we have to close those books and we have to get into it with our students. We have to really open up with them. And maybe that's learning about their heritage. Maybe that's learning about their language. Maybe it's their history. Maybe there's something that happened in their life that we don't understand. Um, Maybe it's like a Dia de los Muertos or some type of a celebration or a sadness that we don't understand, but we can use this as a learning moment. And actually, we can help teach our students around us, which for me, again, I love everyone. And I want my students to feel that same way. I want them to feel trust. I want them to feel bonds with everybody around them, purple, black, white, green, small, large, fat, special needs, whatever it may be. I want us to get along. I have a real knack for trying to focus on that and staying positive with that. Um, the last takeaway, and this was from the vet teacher, and I really love this, is we gotta figure out what outside the classroom drives our students. What are their hobbies and talents? I'm a dirt bike rider. I play sports. I did in high school, so I try to find connections as soon as I can. I make connections with boys, girls, the young boys, the young girls. I try to find something, if it's a cartoon, if it's Disney, if it's a video game that's possibly played, if it's a show on TV. I've even gone out and looked up some different games and different shows because truthfully, and I feel that this is what SEL is definitely driving us to, is that ultimate connection. I feel like this module presented by Ben Clark also, we want that connection. Cultural diversity is amazing, and we need to honor and respect it, but we also need to bond and work with it. And it shouldn't separate us. It should actually bring us together and make stronger bonds. I really did enjoy this module. I hope that you enjoyed my presentation. I hope it wasn't too long. And thank you. I appreciate it so much.